Good morning and welcome to our Weber County Commission meeting on this, the 2nd of November. It's 10 o'clock and we're glad you're here. We have a full quorum today. Our Pledge of Allegiance this morning will be led by Chad Averett. Our invocation will then be given by Commissioner Scott Jenkins, and our thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Gage Frohr. Checked one.
If you'd all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee this day at this commission meeting, we're grateful for the opportunity we have of being here, of sharing our times and our talents with each other, and the being involved in government at the local level for this county. We're grateful for that opportunity. We pray Thy Spirit would attend us and help us in addressing our responsibilities today, that it'll be things we say and do will be in accordance with Thy holy mind and will. We ask Thy blessings to be upon those in the community right now who have reason to mourn. We pray that watch over and bless them. We're grateful this day for the continued precipitation that we're receiving. We're so grateful for that at this point, and we pray it'll continue, that we might end this drought. We give You thanks, Lord, for all the blessings we have, and say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Thank you.
Please.
Mr. Chair, I thought about what I was going to give for a thought of the day, and decided that it was probably a good opportunity to talk about fake news. What some people refer to as junk science. Some of us that, what I'm going to say, are a little longer in the tooth, a little gray hair. Remember the days when we... Not referring to you, Mr. Chair.
He has no hair.
Yeah, that we didn't see an environment that was quite this divisive, where you had one side that thought very strongly they were right, another side that they thought was right. We looked just in this commission chambers over the past couple months, and we've talked about mask versus no mask. We talk about vaccine versus no vaccine, and both sides make strong statements and justifications why they're right and the other side is completely wrong. Well, how did we get to this point? Like my grandfather used to say, Mr. Chair, you know, you're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. So where do these facts come from today? Again, back in the days for Commissioner Jenkins and myself, we had one source of information. It was called the Standard Examiner. And we didn't have social media. We didn't have Instagram, all these others that we have today that have the ability to, I'm going to say, spread information. And sometimes that information is not exactly correct. And you could take this information as correct or not. It did come from the University of Alberta Law School. And it claims that there's a 70% greater likelihood that misinformation will be retreated than true stories. I remember the day when the Standard Examiner was widely known for publishing headlines that were probably more negative than positive. They've changed a great deal since then. But that goes to, you know, the concept that people like, or that are more enticed by negative than they are by positive. And I think that's what we're seeing today. But I wanted to give a reason for this, is I think we're very well represented here in Weber County by the Standard, by Mr. Tim Vandernack. Does a fair job of reporting. He tells both sides of the story without being divisive, and I think we can thank him for that. And I think we just need to be aware of where we're getting our information. And let's check our facts before we spread that on social media. I think we come a long way to being a better community. We get along better. And I think it gives us an opportunity to actually listen to those other people. Listen rather than talk sometimes pays off. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. Those are great thoughts. I sustain what you said, too. They're good. Thank you. Commissioners, we're going to move on to item E like echo on our agenda. Our first item is a request for approval of warrants 4574 through and including 4622 and 463-253 through and including 463-366 and 124 and 125 in the amount of $747,271.41. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $165,687.57. Item 3 is a request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on October 26, 2021. Item 4 is a request for the Community Development Department for approval to declare parcel number 09-566-0011 as surplus property. Item 5 is a request from the Weber County Sheriff's Office for approval to transfer an ATV tire to Weber County Search and Rescue. Item 6 is a request for approval of a facility rental agreement by and between Weber County and the Utah Division of Wildlife Resource to hold regional advisory council meetings in the Weber Center. Item 7 is a request for approval of a donation of Prop 1 funds in the amount of $31,299.76 to Trails Foundation of Northern Utah for asphalt and crack seal repairs on the Pineview Loop pathway and right-of-way impact analysis for future trail from Liberty Park to North Fork Park. Commissioners, item 1 through 7 have now been presented. Questions on any of those items? Please.
Trails Foundation, I wasn't aware they'd made a request for us for Prop 1 funds.
Go ahead, Sean.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yes, every year in the budget, the Commission, well, the last 2 years, has set aside $200,000 for trails-related maintenance and studies, those types of projects for Trails Foundation of Northern Utah. They submit the requests, we review those, and then present them to the Commission for approval. Now, back in 2020, there was a memorandum of understanding approved, so it's not a new contract every time they go through this process, but that memorandum of understanding acts as the approval as long as they meet the criteria that the Commission established. So that's what this is.
Okay, so you're telling us that this is part of the 200 that we set up.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yep, and this is,
I didn't know that we'd set that apart.
Thank you.
this is the second request this year.
Right. Okay, I just wasn't aware of that.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Jacobs?
No, I'm ready to make a motion if you're ready to get it.
Hold on. Commissioner Farrar, any questions?
No, good, thank you.
Before I entertain the motion, Mr. Taylor, thank you for representing Mr. Hatch, who's busy for Election Day today. If you'd go ahead and make the presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. We had 15 purchase orders totaling $166,000. The largest of these were 32% or $53,000 for the jail for kitchen renovations and racking for the new warehouse. 24% or $40,000 to ice sheet for a new compressor. 17% or $28,000 sheriff for search and rescue patrol jackets and vinyl wrap for the street crimes unit, and 12% or $20,000 for IT network switches. Of the 165 warrants totaling $747,000, the largest of these were 24% or $176,000 as an escrow release for the Overlook subdivision, 20% or $152,000 to the jail for security repairs, food, furniture for warehouse, public relations, and utilities, and 12% or $89,000 to the library for ARPA grants for digital products and overdrive service.
Very good. Commissioners, if there's no other questions, now I'll entertain a motion for approval of the consent items.
I'd make that motion.
A motion
Second?
and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number F are non-action items, but it's a presentation by Ms. Shelley Hallisey. It's our annual Weber County Turkey, Ham, and Food Drive Kickoff. Ms. Hallisey, thank you so much.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you for the time. I just want to announce that we're back at it again this year with our annual Weber County Turkey, Ham, and Food Drive. Last year, our employees really stepped up and we had a lot of food donated. Our employees always step up for all of these things, and we appreciate it so much, but I just wanted to let them know that we're at it again. I will put flyers in everybody's box and send this from commissioners to all of the department heads. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Hold on before you go. I want to thank you and just recognize you. You always are caring about others and looking out for those who have a little less. You're always the kind of the spark plug that get these kind of things happening, whether it's a ham or turkey drive this year, or it's a guess for how many candies are in a bowl so an employee can win another $50 here or there. Always doing something for somebody else and thinking about others. And Shelley, it doesn't always go said, but it always in it or recognized, but we sure appreciate you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioners, item number 2 is a presentation of the 2022 tentative operating and capital budget given by the greatest comptroller in the history of the state of Utah, Scott Park.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. So as you're aware, we've been going through the 2020 budget process. You've lived and breathed this for the last month or so. Just as a kind of a reminder of this process, it starts in August when we start gathering all the data for the budget process, and we send it out to the departments who spend September crafting their budgets for the next calendar year. Those budget requests are then turned back into the clerk auditor's office where we review them, and we are then presented to the commissioners in October during the budget hearings. And then we work together outside of that to kind of craft and put together this budget. And so what you have before you on your agendas is the actual tentative budget for 2022, and I just want to hit a couple of the highlights. So in this tentative budget, there is a proposed 3% cost of living increase for all county employees. There was an increase in our insurance cost of 14%, and the county chose to cover 80% or 90% of that based off of the plan that the employee has selected for their health insurance. There are several significant capital projects that are either ongoing or just about to start, including $7 million for maintenance and improvements to our cultural parks and rec facilities, $2 million for stormwater improvements, and about $15 million for various transportation projects, which are funded with the transportation sales tax. The tentative budget also includes a proposed tax increase of 4.5% or $2.1 million, and that would be used to maintain the county's aging stormwater infrastructure and also to pay for library system improvements. And the tentative budget includes a more detailed explanation of these proposed tax increases. I do want to point out that when we sent out our notice of the tax increase several months ago, we included a potential tax increase for the municipal services fund of about 40%. But that tax increase is not necessary. We have to put that out before we know our sales tax growth for the year, and it turns out that we actually have been having decent sales tax growth to the point where we do not need to raise the municipal services fund tax rate this year. The tentative budget is available on the website now. It's also linked on the agenda. We invite the public to look at that between now and November 23rd. We are holding a public hearing November 23rd at 6 p.m. where we will take comments on the tentative budget, and then we will pass the final budget before the end of the year. So unless you have any questions, Commissioners, I'll just present to you that 2022 tentative budget.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Park. This is a non-action item, Commissioners, and we will hear things about the other pieces of the budget having to do with our existing budget here in just a few moments.
Yep.
Any questions for Mr. Park for this non-action item?
None for me.
Okay, great. Commissioners, we'll move on to G like golf. Our first one is a request for final approval of an ordinance of the County Commissioners, Weber County, updating Section 6-4-5, Restraining Animals and Leash Law, prescribing a monetary fine for animal attacks, bites, etc., resulting in injury. Our director out there, Chad Averett, thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm here to present today requesting a final approval of amending Section 6-4-5 of the Weber County Code of Ordinances. Section 6-4-5, Restraining Animals and Leash Law of the Weber County Code of Ordinances, requires persons to prevent animals in their care or custody from running at large, and there are no prescribed monetary fines for violations of this section. And in an effort to further deter persons from allowing their animals to run at large or further cause harm or injury to persons or animals, Weber County Animal Services desires to implement a monetary fine for the violations of Section 6-4-5 as herein described. Under subsection A, it states it is unlawful for any person owning or having in custody, possession, or control of any animal to either negligently or with specific intent improperly restrain or fence the animal in a manner that allows that animal to escape or to run at large. Dogs are to be restrained on proper leash at all times on the public right-of-way and in public places. Subsection B, in relation to this, in addition to the penalties under Section 6-7-3, which basically is a Class B misdemeanor, any person who fails to restrain an animal on a proper leash at all times on the public right-of-way or in public places shall be issued a citation in the amount of $100. Subsection C, in addition to the penalties under that section, 6-7-3, any person owning or having the custody, possession, or control of an animal that attacks, bites, chases, or threatens any person, domestic animal, or any species of wildlife shall be issued a citation in the amount of $200. And finally, the subsection D, in addition to subsection C, it's an enhancement. If that animal causes an injury in any of those circumstances, it'll be a fine of $250. That's what I have to present.
Thank you, Commissioner Farrar. This is in your portfolio. Any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we've met this past week with Mr. Avert and just asked some questions and clarified exactly what this ordinance change does. And I think the intent is obviously to put in a monetary damage as well as some type of misdemeanor that could currently be handed out to somebody that has an animal that causes injury or is off the leash. But it's still the intent of the animal services to try to educate the public first, and this would be used only in those cases where it was justified with injury or other type of animal-caused injuries or abuse.
Correct, Commissioner Ford. That would be, we wouldn't instill this even if when upon your approval, it would be a time where we'd be educating the public.
Right.
So like a first offense, there would be no citation issued. It'd be just an educational moment at that point.
Right. And I think that was fully explained to myself and Commissioner Jenkins this week. So,
Great. Commissioner Jenkins, comments?
Yes, thank you very much. I pushed back a little bit on this last week, and we had a chance to sit and talk about it, and I'm in support of this now. You know, we've had several circumstances lately that have been in the news where kids have been attacked on bikes by dogs, and I understand people have to keep these animals under control, and we need to be able to educate and fine these people, especially if they're not, if they continue to not control their dogs. So I'm very much in favor of this.
Very good. Commissioners, with that, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the final reading of ordinance of the County Commissioners of Weber County, updating Section 645, restraining animals and leash law, prescribing a monetary fee for animal attacks, bites, etc., resulting in injury, as presented today.
Okay, we have a motion
I'd second that motion.
and a second. Mr. Brandt?
Okay, roll call vote for ordinance 2021-27. Commissioner Farrar?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye?
Chairman Harvey?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Averitt. Item 2 is a request for approval of agreements by and between Weber County and the following individuals for indigent defense representation. It'll be given by Mr. Brian Benyon, but those individuals are Jason Widdison, Carl Anderson, Justin Morrison, Roger Adams, and Kevin Richards. Mr. Barron, go ahead, please, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So 4 of these contracts are for new attorneys who will be taking over for the attorneys who are leaving. And one of them is for an attorney that's leaving to help us out with a murder and aggravated arson case that should be wrapping up in the next few weeks, and also to help transition the new attorneys into the DUI court.
Very good. Questions for Mr. Barron regarding indigent defense? Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve the agreements between Weber County and the individuals for the indigent defense representation as presented by Mr. Brian Barron this morning.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Barron.
Thank you.
Thanks for your extra work on this, too. Appreciate it. Great. Item 3 is a request for final approval of Westwood Homestead Subdivision, consisting of 4 lots on the road dedication along 1900 North Street. Our presenter today is Tammy Adelot.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Tammy.
This one is actually a pretty simple subdivision. We don't have any improvements that are required at this time by engineering. The developer has been in the process of drilling and pump testing their wells, and they're awaiting final approval from the Health Department. So this request is for final approval for a 4-lot subdivision. Previously, an access exception request was approved in order to access the southern 3 lots. The intent of the owner is to maintain the agricultural use of the property and still be able to install a few residences for family. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't see the petitioner here. Commissioners,
I don't see him here either.
questions for Ms. Adelot?
The question I had is how far west is this?
This is actually in Upper Valley, off of 1900 North, right at the end of 1900 North.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Farrar, any questions?
No, I'm good with this.
I'll entertain a motion for approval.
In the Upper Valley, I kind of thought you'd make that motion.
I'll be happy to make that motion to approve the Westwood Homestead subdivision consisting of the 4 lots and road dedication along with 1900 North Street as presented today by Ms. Adelot.
Have a motion?
Second.
And a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Adelot. Item number 4 is a request for approval of a lease agreement by and between Weber County and Summers & Summers LLC, a Western landscaping company. Our presenter today is William George Ross. Go ahead, Mr. Ross.
As you're aware, Commissioners, Summers & Summers LLC and Western Landscaping lease a little corner piece off the adjacent to our Roads Department building up there in the Upper Valley. That lease agreement had expired October 31st this year, and so this is a new lease agreement. We did increase that amount, $100 this year per month, so it'll be $500 a month for the first year with an annual increase for the following years, $100 each year. So the last year will be $900 a month for them to lease that. It's been a good partnership with them, and they took good care of that property for us and present before you today.
This is in your portfolio. Commissioner Jenkins, any comments?
Yes, if you notice, this is right on the tail end of our road sheds up in the Upper Valley, and they've had it for years, and it's a good agreement for them and for us, and it's not necessary for the roads right now. They don't need it, so yeah, I'm okay with it, and I'd make a motion that we approve the lease agreement between Weber County and Summer & Summer LLC and Western Landscape.
I'll accept that motion. Commissioner Farrar?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Ross. Item number 5 is a request for approval of an agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden 3 LLC for reimbursement to be issued to the developer for installation of a sewer line at a deeper and larger line than needed for their development. Our presenter today is Chad Meyerhofer. Mr. Meyerhofer, welcome and go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yeah, so
Morning.
this development is known as the Winston Park subdivision. You may recall that through some of our conversations before, but it kind of sits a little bit northeast of the Taylor Landing lift station, and so this is kind of the first development that's going in. And they're installing the sewer line at depths right around 20 feet deep, and this is going to help to be able to service a lot of the lift station one area in the northeast portion of that area. So we're glad that they're working with us and that we can get this line deeper so that we can have less lift stations. So be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, this is an item that's been heard in work sessions and also here. Any questions? Commissioner Jenkins, I'll go to you first.
I don't have any questions, but this, we've master planned the sewer in this area, and what this does is this allows us to sewer the entire area with 5 or 6 lift stations. 5?
I think 5.
5, yeah. And so for those people who will eventually develop out here, this is smart planning and smart growth. And so what we do is we end up having a fee here that they all pay into, and this fee will go into our, which account is it, Chad?
The impact fees.
Yeah, the impact fee account. And then out of that account, we will pay these developers to place that sewer at a deeper depth, and allows us a substantial advantage as a county to do this. And so I'm all in favor of it and highly recommend it, and I appreciate Sean and all these guys getting together and doing this. Chad, you too. I think this is very smart for us to do it.
Great. Commissioner Frohr.
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Jenkins, I'll entertain a motion.
Very good. I'd give you that motion. I'd request, or I'd make a motion to approve the agreement by and between Weber County and Ogden 3 LC for the issuance of developer for installation of the sewer at a deeper depth.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
Commissioners, our next item is H, like hotel. It's a request for a motion to adjourn our public meeting and convene a public hearing. I'll entertain either one of you to make that motion.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're now in a public hearing. Our first item on that public hearing is to discuss amendments to the operating and capital budget of Weber County for the 2021 calendar year. Again, our presenter today will be Mr. Scott Park. Mr. Park, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you're aware, we have to make adjustments occasionally during the year with our budget. So what we're talking about now is the 2021 operating and capital budget. So this year we're currently in, not next year. So you have before you a list of a couple of different amendments that we have been requested to make this year. I'll just highlight a couple of the big ones. We want to finish the second floor of the annex. Now, $1 million is more than we need to actually finish the annex, but we wanted to have enough in there as a contingency so that just in case there's change orders or with the cost of materials going up, that we have plenty to complete that project. We have the Winston Park sewer improvements, which was just discussed, for $400,000. That's to pay the developer to go down a little bit deeper, and that money will be recouped in impact fees over time. And then we have repairs to 9350 West, so that cost us a little bit more. We found that once we were out there, we could do for a little bit more money, we could do a lot of work to really make that road nice, and so we decided to just expand that scope a little bit and finish that road so that it's nice and going to serve us in the future. Moving on to employee compensation, during the year with some hiring challenges, the county just was not able to attract and retain really any new workers, and so we increased the wages $2 an hour across the board. What you see on here is that cost us about $1.8 million for the rest of this year. We've received various grants from different entities, and this is receiving the grant revenue and also using that grant money to pay for whatever purpose they gave us the grant. So you'll see that in there, $2.5 million in and $2.1 million out. And then we had some additional revenues at the Golden Spike Event Center, which is a good thing, but it also means our cost of sales was a little bit higher, so we need more money to fund cost of sales for the rest of the year. So unless you have any questions, Commissioners, I present to you these amendments to the 2021 operating and capital budget.
Commissioners, we've heard Mr. Park's presentation. Do you have any questions before I go to public comment?
I wouldn't mind speaking.
Please.
Here. It's interesting, when you look at these capital projects at the top, that 9350 West was a road that we refinished out there that goes to our largest property and property taxpayer in the county. So, and these are funds that were left over, and so we were glad to have done that. The Health Department Annex, these are funds that come out of their fund balance, and so there's plenty in there to do that, so we felt comfortable with that. The Sheriff Warehouse, these are funds that were left over that he is building that warehouse, that is using to build that warehouse with. And the property management, pole barns, we've been trying to relocate that property management operation since I've been here. 3.5 years, and it's finally got done. and we're doing away with payments of rental of other property that they were making by doing this. So I think this is great management of our money. It's saving us leases that we were paying. And that is also on the sheriff's warehouse. That's saving as lease payments that we were making there. Commissioner Ford and I have been hell-bent, so to speak, of doing away with all these bonds and leases and everything since we've been here, and with your cooperation, Mr. Chair, we've done that. We've worked our way through this, and we just keep knocking them off. I'm not sure there's a whole lot left to do. We've done a really good job of doing away with all these, and really cleaned our budget process up. So I'm very happy about this, Scott. I just want to say that.
Very good. Commissioner Farrar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Commissioner Jenkins said it well. These were all good financial business decisions made in the public's best interest. That list that you just read to us, I think, in the end will result in a lot of good things happening in Weber County, from roads, from the public safety buildings, et cetera. So, but Mr. Park, I do have one question for you. So, and I know we'll talk about this when we talk about the budget, but I would like to go on record. So if you were to say what the status of the financial health of Weber County is today, what would that be?
Weber County's financial health, the Special General Fund, is the strongest it's been since I've been here. It's right at the top end of what industry average is. We are AAA bond rated, so top 3% of all the counties in the nation. We are in a very good spot, which has allowed us options to pay down debt earlier. So in 2020, we paid down several bonds off and saved over $2 million of interest. So we're in a good position that we can make smart, wise financial decisions for the future. And sometimes that means we invest a little bit of capital right now in order to get a return a few years down the road, but we're in a position where we can do that. We're not behind the eight ball, so to speak, always trying to play catch up, just trying to survive. So we're in a very good spot.
Thank you for that. And I, need to applaud my fellow commissioners, because these have been good business decisions, not always easy business decisions we've made over the past 3 years. But as we look at Weber County as being a corporation, we agreed that we need to run this like a business. And we need to respect that these are taxpayer dollars that we're spending. And I think, gentlemen, the result of that is proof's in the pudding.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioners, both well said. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Park. This is the time now for the members of the public to comment. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and only speak to those items pertaining to the county 2021 calendar year as it relates to the budget. Are there any that would like to come forth in this public hearing and make comments to that? Are there any online, Shelley? Shaking your head no? Seeing none, Commissioners, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn our public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're now back into a public meeting, and I entertain a motion and request approval of the resolution. You have that in your thing, amending the operating. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 45-2021, which takes the actions that we've just reviewed.
Have a motion?
And I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for roll call. Mr. Brandt.
Okay, roll call vote for Resolution 45-2021. Commissioner Ford?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Chairman Harvey?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item I on our agenda is Commissioners' comments. Commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
So I would like to make a comment.
Please.
So yesterday afternoon, we had some folks come up from the state, did a little tour around Weber County, some of our existing businesses and a future business site. And Mr. Chair was kind enough to come with us on that tour. I think it's safe to say that Weber County is on the verge of some major economic changes, to say the least. I think we're going to see some fantastic things happen here over the next several years, if not sooner. I was on earlier with the Unified Economic Opportunity Commission with the governor, And they are really making some progress on reaching out, basically what the Weber County model is now, which is a bottom-up approach. Let's look at take it into the communities, let the communities decide what they want to see with growth, but growth is going to come, but we need to have the input before we make decisions so the communities aren't viewing us as being top-down or making the decisions. And you're going to see some resources very shortly come from the state that I hope the cities in Weber County will buy in on, because this will give us the opportunity to decide how we're going to grow rather than somebody else telling us how we're going to grow. So I'm excited about that, Mr. Chair.
That's awesome. Commissioner Jenkins.
Well, I have two things I'd like to bring up. First of all, last night we had the ribbon cutting for the Center of Excellence. And I would like to thank all those who have been involved in this over the years, especially Commissioner Ebert. This was his brainchild in the beginning when it got started, and I come in right after and have helped implement it, but he was the one that started it, and they hired Melissa Freegang, and it's just gone on from there. So I just wanted to call your attention to that, and it was we kind of had to divide and conquer yesterday because we had so much going on. And so anyway, I wanted to call your attention to that and say it was a great deal. The Chamber of Commerce came, and the Spikers and all of it. It was our homeless czar, Wayne Niederhauser, came down or up from Salt Lake, and it was just really good. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And the second thing is UAC, Utah Association of Counties, has asked me to be involved with this settlement negotiation on this opioid settlement for this large opioid, what would you call it anyway, that's going on. And this has not been an easy deal to do. I've been on three different calls now. And last week I went down to the Capitol in person, and we are represented, 18 counties are represented in one group, which we're part of, and then Salt Lake and Davis County are represented in another group. And we don't all necessarily agree, and it's not even the agreement. We don't have the same numbers. And so we're struggling getting together on this. And anyway, I thought we came to a pretty good resolution last week, and this week it's all up in the air. So anyway, I just wanted you to know I'm heavily involved in that, and we move along, and I'm sure we'll come to a good resolution. But our goal is to try to have something done so we can present it at the UAC conference this next week to everybody. But I'm not sure we're going to make it. We continue to work, and we're going to have a meeting again Monday to work on this. But hopefully we'll have something to present at a UAC.
Thank you for your representation on that board for us, Commissioner. You know, just to summarize for both of you, and maybe one other couple of questions. Commissioner Jenkins, I believe it was you that brought up the road, that we put some more infrastructure out there. Commissioner Frohr, you alluded to one of the largest taxpayers out in Weber County, Great Salt Lake Mineral, and just the impact when we talk about growth, when you have big corporations such as that in Weber County, those corporations help mitigate the tax burden on the residents that live here. So as more corporations move in, the burden doesn't necessarily become lighter, but what it does is it prolongs the period of time that tax increases need to happen. Now, I will tell you, and openly, that we are looking, while Mr. Park reported earlier in our non-action items that we are not going to have a municipal tax increase. We are looking shortly at doing something with stormwater and also helping our libraries so that we can have fair and equitable representation, not just throughout the whole county, but we have the same quality of service for the grandchildren of our grandchildren, so that we can have something that perpetuates what we have. So this, in essence, as we started last year, is a continuation of a fund that we started, so that those things that we treasure, will be healthy in the future. It gives future commissions an opportunity to be in a better spot than we were in when we first started. So it just gives them more tools. And quite frankly, what person doesn't like tools? Absolutely, I'm a tool junkie, so it doesn't matter if it's mustard or ketchup. I won't give the brands, but some people sell yellow, some people sell red. You've never heard that, have you?
I have.
Oh, okay, well, there you go.
Anytime.
With that, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion for item J. Juliet.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion?
And a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.